We are here to discuss the hard topics and present the truth.
We want to share our personal struggles to let you know that Christians do fall short.
But you have to hold yourself accountable for your actions.
We're not here to judge, right or wrong, but instead allow you to come to your own conclusion through Christian discussion and Bible study. Now let's talk. Hey everybody, I'm Ryan.
I'm Jalea.
So today we're going to get right into it, and we're going to talk about sex. Right? We're going to talk about how Christians deal with sex. We're going to talk about things that are commonly said when it comes to sex, and what are some of the things that you hear that are said when it comes to sex?
You gonna burn. That's what I hear. I've heard that my whole life. If you're having sex outside of marriage, you gonna burn. I'm like, harsh.
Yeah, definitely going to hell if you have sex before marriage.
Yeah.
Definitely one I hear. What about, like, if you have sexual temptations, then you're not a very strong Christian. Like, if you're tempted by sex, you're not really the Christian that you say you are.
You know what? I ain't got that one.
What?
You might need to run from them Christian friends, cause
like those are the ones that are really like been married since they was 18, and they're like, I don't have no temptation.
Because they didn't have to really go through that struggle per se.
Right.
They hopped on in there, got married real quick. Okay.
What about if you want to have sex, just get married?
Yeah, I've heard that. Definitely heard that from people. I think that's insane, but I've definitely heard that one.
I mean, you don't think that's true? Because I mean, they'll point out like one scripture and say like, yeah, you should just get married if you.
Do you want to dive into that now, or you just want?
No, we'll get to it.
Okay. Because I got something to say.
And then sex is only between a man and a woman.
100%.
Oh yeah, so I agree with you, but what I'm saying, is like that's something you commonly hear. You know, like those are all commonly heard phrases or terms.
Oh, I got another one for you. Does masturbation count?
Does masturbation count?
Because I done heard some Christians that are not on the holy moly, roly poly end of the spectrum. They're on the very liberal. That doesn't count.
They say masturbation don't count. I also have heard that fellatio doesn't count.
Yeah, heard that.
Right.
Heard that.
I think we could go on and on about the different things that
we
you
could.
hear, right?
This is a very deep topic, so.
So, yeah. Okay. Cool. So let's get into it.
Yeah. Let me
But
adjust myself.
I think we got to think of it a different way, right? Mm-hmm. Let's not just talk about the things we've heard. Let's talk about a different way to think about it, right? Mm-hmm. What if we thought about the fact that it's good?
Facts.
Right, like it's good
Yes.
when done the right way.
Yes. God is pleased.
God is pleased.
It is a form of worship.
It's a form of worship. And it's good. You know what I'm saying? We're done the right way.
Did we say it's good?
Right.
Yes. Okay.
Spouses owe it to one another.
Period.
Spouses
cannot withhold. No withholding.
Okay. Spouses owe it to one another. And then I would say the last one, you can overcome temptations if you avoid certain situations.
100%.
So think of it in those three ways today. All right, so we're gonna do testimonies.
Woo!
We're gonna do testimonies.
I'm ready to hear this one.
All right, so my testimony has more to do with why I think sex has been something that I believe defined me as a man, right? So I remember very young age, I was introduced to promiscuity, right? Had older women that I wouldn't say took advantage of me, but made me feel a little different. Like, you know, like they touching on you, and when an older woman's touching on you, you're feeling like, man, this feels good. Like, I like this feeling, right? And in that experience, you know, that's happened, I would say, more than once. And like I said, not like taking advantage. They're just a little bit older than me, but I liked it. And then I realized, at least at the time, I thought, if this woman is doing this to me and I like it, it's my responsibility to give her what she wants, right? Like, as a man, it's my responsibility to give her what she wants. And not only that, as a man, I'm defined by what I can give her. Because if I don't give her that, then maybe I'm not the man that she needs me to be. Maybe I'm not fulfilling her the way that I should be fulfilling her, right? So for me, some of those personal experiences made my mind think that I have to have sex with this woman that I meet because one, that's me being a man, giving her what she really wants, right? And then also, I'm gratifying myself as well.
Right.
So I don't know how you've experienced it, but I think for men, and I can't speak for every man, but I think a lot of men feel that, hey, I have to do this. But not only that, right? I was in positions, I remember I was in high school, and I was like, yeah, I'm waiting until marriage.
Right.
And, I'm started running back, all that good stuff. And, like I said, you got a lot of people that are around you, and they're like, to marriage? You got all these girls you could talk to. You gonna wait till marriage, bro? Like, you tripping. Like, you need to give them what they want. Back to that, what I said earlier.
Yep.
And then it becomes that pressure of like, man, all my boys doing it. The girls really want this.
Yep.
Maybe I'm like inadequate. Maybe I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do. So you know what? Hey, let's make it happen. Let's get into it, right? That was my thought.
Yeah.
So I think my testimony now would be those experiences don't define me as a man, right? They don't define they don't define how I should be when it comes to sex, right? What does define me is what God says.
Yeah.
And then I also say, like, I'm not perfect. I've fallen short. You know what I mean? I'm sitting on the set with you right now. Shoot, I could have did something yesterday. I didn't, right? But I'm saying, like, it's a real temptation, and it's something that continues, but it's the mindset that you have to be able to shift and say, you know what? I'm not doing this because I have to do it or because I feel like it makes me a man, but I'm doing it at the right time with the right person because it's good, because spouses shouldn't keep it from one another, right? And because God says wait, and when you wait, it's gonna be worth it.
100%.
Right, so that's kind of like my testimony, kind of a little bit of storytelling as to what sex has been for me and what it is now.
Yeah. And I know typically, in how we typically go about this, we'll share a partial story, but I think it's really important, like we were saying earlier, to have both sides. So for me, it was a little bit different as far as the sex component. So the sex for me, it was like, my parents, like I said, I grew up PK, ain't no sex where? Sex not on the TV, don't even, who's a boy? What is a boy? That was my experience. And I was extremely sheltered growing up. So I didn't have that exposure. So I know a lot of women my age, they get exposed. They are taken advantage of. That's not my story. So for me, where sex started coming into play was kind of around high school, of course, because that's when everybody, they getting started, they doing it. It's cool.
Yeah.
Like, and for me, in my head, I was a tomboy, so I was like, I don't even really like boys in that way. Like, they my friends. I want to go play basketball with them. And I think that definitely comes from the shelteredness of how I grew up. So I remember it was probably like my junior year. I got me a little boyfriend. And that's whenever I started kind of seeing how the sex started playing into like how you interact with the opposite sex. Like, I'm just thinking, oh, it's just a kiss. Oh, we just kissing. And for me, that just felt good because it was like, ooh, like warm and fuzzy. You get those little feelings inside your stomach. You just start feeling that way. I don't really know how to like understand that. I'm just like, ooh, I like that. So let me just kiss him again. For me, it was never the thought of, ooh, I'm trying to get some. So then what ended up happening was, as I started going into more relationships and I started seeing how big sex was to, society in our age group at that time, now I started feeling obligated. Like, that's where sex became a thing for me, where I felt like in order to be considered a good girlfriend, or in order for me to keep my man,
right,
like, me just being good to him and supporting him ain't enough. You're going to have to give something up.
Right.
Because for me, in my head, I'd always been like, yeah, I'm waiting till marriage. Like, because, like I said, I was raised in church. That's all I ever knew. So it wasn't nothing to me to wait till marriage.
Right.
Because I never experienced anything differently. So when you start messing with people who don't have the same viewpoints as you, you start feeling like, am I crazy? Am I tripping? Am I, like, what do my parents teach? Are they brainwashing me or something? Because you start thinking, like, maybe my parents tripping.
Yeah.
Maybe they are old school. maybe, you start thinking those things because literally you start seeing everybody across, people that say they Christian, people who ain't. So it's like, maybe this is a little outdated. Maybe it's okay if you really love this person.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's okay if y'all been dating for a long time. You know what I'm saying? So
absolutely,
that's kind of how I was introduced to it. And it's just feeling obligated to do it in order to keep and secure my place in my relationship. It's kind of what happened for me.
No, absolutely. And that obligation, I think we have a very similar story, just kind of a different perspective. Because like I said, as a man, you feel obligated, like this with the woman, this is how I keep her.
Yeah.
Similar to you, this is how I keep him. I think your experiences in life ultimately change who you are, right? But that's a good thing too.
Yeah.
Because once you experience God, it will change who you are.
Man.
You know what I'm saying? So I know, like I said before, I still remember, man, I don't want to go into too many details, but I got to tell this story, right? Like high school, got an older girlfriend, and at this point, I'm a virgin. I'm still sticking to, like, I'm not having sex till marriage, doing my thing. And I was just riding in the car, and she pulled up, she drove all the way to the back of the neighborhood. And, I'm like, yo, where you going? I live, what I'm saying? I live back there, what I'm saying?
Yeah.
She's like, no, just relax. And I was like, what you mean relax? What I'm like,
going?
where are we going? What are we doing? Fast forward, we did know. And I was stuck.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I wasn't expecting that. I didn't know how to process my emotions. But at that moment in time, I think my mind or my conscience was like, yo, you didn't do the right thing, but that's what she wants. And that's what a lot of women want. So now you got to continue that pattern so that you can give women what they want.
Can't stop now.
You know what I mean? Yeah, you right. But you can stop now.
But that's the thought process.
Right. At the time, I was like, I can't stop. Because like, this is what they want. I'm going to give them, I'm going to give the people what they want. You feel me? And so for me, it had always been that struggle of going, am I doing enough, right? Because if I care about this person and this is what they want, why don't I give them what they want? But really, we got to think about who ultimately matters, right? I think I heard it one way is, you can date a woman or you can meet a woman and you can love her. But until you love God more than you love her, you're not going to love her the right way.
Woof. You said a mouthful with that one.
You know what I'm saying?
A mouthful. So,
I don't know. That's why I said this topic for me, it does hit a little different because it's something that I believe every man can resonate with. And the good thing is, men, because I know I'm looking at y'all right in the eyes right now. You can make the decision not to, right? And the woman that you with will support you if she believes that you're serious, right? And I think a lot of times we go back and forth because we're not sure. But there comes a point where you got to be like, hey, this is what I'm going to do. You going to rock with me or you not?
Yeah.
And yeah, that's kind of my testimony, my story again, just of it. So, but yeah, we could talk all day about this. Me and you back and forth.
Really.
But what does the Bible say about it, right? What does the Bible say about sex? So I got a couple verses that I wrote down.
All right, give them to me.
So I got Corinthians 6:18. Flee from sexual immorality. Any other sins a person commits are outside the body, but whoever sins sexually sins against their own body. Yeah. What do you think about that verse?
So that's one thing. That's why for me, that was probably the verse that I heard that it just hit me different. And I say that because, like you said, initially you feel obligated whenever you're dealing with sex. You feel obligated to do things. But when you hear the word like that, and it tells you that every other thing you do is outward, but sexual is against yourself. So basically, you doing that to yourself.
Right.
So that's insanity to me. Like, every other thing and I do believe that is why it is such a huge issue. is because you are doing it to yourself. You're not only are you putting yourself in a bad position by doing it to someone else and you're defiling another person, you're defiling yourself. That's almost like you drinking poison up for yourself. Like you ain't just poisoning somebody. Yeah, it's bad if you poison somebody else. It's bad if you go beat somebody else up. But how crazy do you look drinking your own poison?
Yeah.
Beating your own self up. That look real crazy. And that's kind of what we look like whenever we are doing these sexual sins, because it's against yourself. You're bringing unnecessary spirits into yourself by connecting to these other people. And I feel like that's a major thing to touch on, is that people don't understand that those soul ties that people speak about, those are so real. And people think it's, y'all talking all that spiritual talk. All right, well then you let me know why all of a sudden after you started messing with such and such, now you sad all the time, or now you mad all the time, or whatever type of things they kind of deal with. If you really take a look at, and I really want y'all to do this with me, like I want y'all to take a thought, to just look back on some of the people you've dealt with, and look at some that may have dealt with depression, or may have dealt with anger, or different things like that. And please tell me, let me know whether or not you started seeing some of those things kind of rise up in you out of nowhere. Because that's what happened to me, and that's when I realized I needed to make a change, and kind of where my abstinence journey started. Whenever I started seeing some things about myself that was never me. I was acting crazy. I'm, usually bubbly and joyful, and my mama asked me, "What's wrong? Why are you always sad? Why are you locked up in your room?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about? I'm fine. That ain't my daughter." So that's mine.
So I think what's interesting to your point is that when you leave relationships, a lot of times you have to heal. But I think it's because I've been in some relationships and we didn't do nothing, there's not much to it. Like, hey, we may have had some great experiences, but I can move on and keep on pushing, right? But it's the ones that I'm like, specifically the ones that I've had sexual encounters with, that I have to heal differently. And I think it's because of the stronghold that sex has on you. And people don't realize that. I know I haven't realized it at times. And I'm like, man, why am I so into this woman that all these other things I wasn't into, but I'm still really into her?
Right.
But it may have just been because the sex was good, as they say, right? So like now I'm like, shoot, that's what I really miss.
Right.
It may not be all the other things.
Right.
So definitely, I definitely can appreciate, what you just said. So the next verse I got is Proverbs 31:3. Do not spend your strength on women, your vigor on those who ruin kings. And this is for my men out there. Because look, it's some women that will ruin a king. But I think, again, that stronghold becomes even stronger when you have that sexual encounter with them. And you're not able to think clearly. You're not able to discern when that steps in the picture. So for me, that's something that always sticks with me when I get ready to make that decision. Because I think it's all the time you're making a decision. Right? Like you can be abstinent today.
And slip up tomorrow.
Because it's legit a decision you're making.
Every single day.
So now, and then the last verse I got is 1 Corinthians 7:3. The husband should fulfill his marital duties to his wife, and likewise the wife to her husband. And that's talking about marital duties in general, but one is definitely sex.
100%.
So I like that. I like this verse because it's talking about how spouses are to be able to give to one another, right? Like sometimes people say, oh yeah, if I'm the man, like if I want it, she should give it to me. It's both ways.
100%.
The man tired, like I come home from work, I'm like, yo, I don't feel like doing nothing. But if she's like, excuse me, hey, you better,
it's time.
Hey, you better tighten up.
You need a Red Bull? What's that? So yeah. No, I think this is such an important conversation that people don't tap into. I think another big thing and why people of our generation have rebelled against that so much and really be out in these streets, as we like to say, is because of the negative connotation. And that's just a trend. Whenever you put something in such a negative light so much so, it makes people want to see what's so bad about it. Because I don't see it.
And I like it.
Yes.
Back
Like,
again,
what's
right?
so bad about it? But then whenever you start having the real conversation of, because this is what I think a lot of parents and older like saints, they don't wanna tell you sex is good in its place because they think you just gonna hear sex is good. But whenever all you do is tell somebody sex is bad, but it feel good, like I naturally want to do it, how could this be bad? Whenever if somebody do something the right way, something else happen, it's a chain reaction. How is that? If it's natural, why? I don't understand how it can't be good. And so whenever you actually break it down to, it's good in the right place. Everything has a place in life. Everything has an order. So if you do it in the right way, oh, it's real good. If even when it comes to the thing about worship, it's literally worship to God because He put this. That is a marital institution. That's something that's a part of the marriage is sex.
So I got a scripture for you, right?
Okay.
That I think really relates. 1 Corinthians 7:2. But since sexual immorality is occurring, each man should have sexual relations with his own wife, and each woman with her own husband.
Yeah. So I mean, and that just plays into basically what you like. It's happening. People are doing it,
Right.
But in the right way. That's because I say all the time, I can't wait till I get my husband because prior to now, like all these other experiences, I'm feeling guilty. I feel like God in here watching me. Like, oh God, I can't even enjoy what's happening at this time. Like before the moment, you like, oh snap, we finna get some fun going on in here, and then yes, and you feel
Right.
excited, but that Holy Spirit get to what you doing now, and then it's just like, gosh, I can't even enjoy it. So that's why I always say like it's so much better to know like when you get married, you ain't gotta feel no guilt.
That's
you ain't
true.
gotta wake up the next day mad. Like
You don't even have to be different towards the person that you with, because a lot of times you start resenting that person.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, man, you the reason I did this, but really it's your fault. You gotta take accountability.
I'm like, you ain't have to be that cute. You ain't have to come in here doing all that rubbing
Right,
on my toes.
He said, rub it on my toes.
But no, for real, like that. It's just stuff like that. You just for me, like while I've been on this abstinence journey, you just learn like it's gonna be worth it. So I'm just, Lord, help me to get through this moment. He cute, but God, that's the devil. He ain't even that fine for real. That's the devil. He ain't.
What you say? You said
Jesus.
something to me one time. You're like, you ain't gonna stop me from getting my blessing.
For real.
That's your thing.
That's mine. Like you ain't gonna stop me, deter me. I'm not these children of Israel that had, what was it? 11 mile, 11 day journey or something turned to 40 years.
Yeah, 40 years.
11-day journey turned into 40 years. Lord, I don't want to be waiting for my husband for 40 years. So I'm gonna just go straight. The 11 days, okay? I'm gonna go ahead and wait it out.
For sure. No, for sure. So I think there's some key takeaways. And
Yeah.
as you were kind of talking, I was just, putting some things together. But one of the takeaways that I put down is sex is so powerful and compelling that it doesn't let the two of you get to know each other. And sex usually takes center stage.
Yeah.
It takes the focus from God in your relationship to the couple. To me, that's like, you don't even think about it.
Right.
Like when you're making the decisions you're making, you're not thinking this is going to take away the focus from, this is going to take my focus away from God.
Yeah, you don't
That's
know that.
never your thought process, but it happens.
Yeah.
And then another one I got is premarital sex hinders us from drawing closer to God. I don't know how you feel about that,
It's
but
like a
that one
wedge.
is legit a wedge. And then we all sin and come short of the glory of God. So don't condemn yourself. Right? But instead hold yourself accountable and then make better decisions to overcome the temptation the next time you face it. So men, I know y'all gonna face that temptation. I know it's out there. I faced it plenty of times. I'll face it tomorrow, the next day, the day after that. Like, it's just going to happen, but it's gonna come down to the decision you make. So you can overcome it. It's every man's battle. Shoot, it's every woman's battle.
Man.
But it's about how you gonna fight it.
Yeah.
And who you gonna fight it with. You know what I mean? And I think it's good to have people that can hold you accountable, that you can have these open conversations about it with, and just make better decisions along the way. So, yeah, I'm glad we got into it.
I am too. Like, your points have been great. Like, the takeaways, I hope you guys rewind that back and just listen closely to what he's saying, because a lot of times we can skip over gems because we drive and we may hit a speed bump or something. Go back and really key into what those points were, because it's major. And like you said, you do need to have that accountability system. Sometimes you may have to distance yourself away from people who are not on that same path as you. I know for me, you gotta be around people that's like-minded, that you can have that discussion with. You can say, hey, Ryan, look, he talking about coming over. Jalea, don't even, you're sick. I'm like, all right, bet, I'm sick. You know, because at the end of the day, like you said, it's a daily decision.
It is.
I remember when I first became, was practicing abstinence a whole year, and I still slipped up. So how you got discipline for a whole year? You make it a whole year, and then, so that's why, and for me, that was humbling. That was a humbling experience. So it's just like, it's gotta be by God's grace. So you guys, now y'all know, we're gonna talk about this again.
We're gonna talk about this again, and the next time we talk,
okay,
we're gonna talk about how difficult it is to find somebody that's like-minded like you.
That's a good one.
Right? Because that, to me, you know, you in a relationship and then you end up slipping up, and then you go on, you're like, the next time I'm gonna find somebody that thinks the way I think. That may not always be the case, right? You may have to talk, you may have to teach, you may have to get them to understand God's point of view, but at the same point, there's plenty of people out there that think the way you think. So don't think you have to settle.
That's gonna be a good one.
So we're gonna talk more about it. We're gonna get into it.
Thank you for joining us. If you found any of this helpful, please like, comment, share, and subscribe so you don't miss a thing.
And if you really want to get into it, follow us on Instagram and send us a message.